Hey team, it's John Kraska here with EveryLibrary and the EveryLibrary Institute. I appreciate the chance to be able to hang out tonight. We're talking about a new wonderful book called Band Together by Ashley Hope Pérez. I want to do the official welcomes and introductions. After I mention very briefly EveryLibrary, the EveryLibrary Institute. We are the Political Action Committee for Libraries. We spend a lot of time working on funding for public libraries and school libraries, support for our partners in state library associations, state Right to Read groups on their legislative initiatives, as well as opposing censorship and book bans, book bans, and discrimination in a lot of different places. Our Fight for the First platform is available for free for anyone who needs the support, whether it's a public library in an area as small as a zip code or a school district. We can help put the agenda towards the Constitution, towards the rule of law, and towards what I hope are not just the First Amendment, but also the 14th Amendment in terms of civil rights to work. So, Ashley, I want to bring you up and say hello tonight. It is a real treat to be able to be here with you in this kind of context. It's my pleasure to get to be here with you. Oh, it's a treat. It's a real treat. I need to read the official bio, though. Otherwise, we don't get points, okay? In publisher-supported heaven. Ashley Hope Pérez is a Texas native and is the award-winning author of Out of Darkness, a Printz Honor, and a Tomás Rivera Book Award winner. Also one of the most banned books of 2021 and 2022. She's a fierce advocate for the freedom to read. She joined PEN America's 2023 lawsuit against Escambia County, Florida, and in 2025 launched the Mellon-funded Unite to Read project, a 2-year initiative fighting book bans and expanding access to literature. A former high school teacher, she is now associate professor at The Ohio State University and is the recipient of its Alumni Award for Distinguished Teaching. She's also the newest member of the EveryLibrary Institute Board as well. Ashley, we've had one big meeting already. We got a lot of work ahead of us to do. Sure do. Yeah. So we want to hang out tonight and talk about Band Together initially. We also want to talk about, yes, we will do twinsies here. We also want to talk about the Mellon-funded project, Unite to Read, and everything else that's on our minds. So Band Together, though, this comes out today, is March 3rd, 2025. To the best of my understanding, this releases tomorrow. Is that correct? Tomorrow, yes. Congratulations. Yeah. So, I'm excited. Tell me about the genesis of the book. Yeah, I have been dreaming about this book since at least 2022. But it's a couple of things. It's meeting a couple of needs. One, it's meeting a need in school libraries where books are missing, where the authors, this big, beautiful stack of incredible authors, where their works have been removed from school libraries. Here's a collection that not only tells young people what's happening, but that librarian, even in that district where there's been that subtractive assault on libraries, I'm really hoping those school librarians will read the review of Band Together and recognize, oh, this is a way I can bring those authors back. It also really focuses on action, providing young people with information about what's happening in their library or in libraries of their peers across the country, and then ways of responding, just how powerful young people can be when they are supported to take action. And then I think that something that was very significant to me personally was supporting and working with fellow authors who've experienced significant attacks on their works of literature, giving them a space to transform that experience, transform that reality into a gift for readers. And I think that for those of us who've seen our work pulled in district after district after district, we're sick with the loss of the opportunity to connect with readers. I've yet to meet an author who writes for teenagers or who writes for young people who wasn't motivated by the desire to give those young people stories that would matter,
stories that would support them, stories that would engage them, stories that would support them in understanding the world around them. And so when you've worked in that way to create narrative worlds or to write literature, and then you lose that connection, it's very painful. I feel like Band Together is one avenue to rebuild those bridges between banned authors and the readers that they care about most.
Well, the list of folks that you have on Band Together here who have contributed to the volume, and we've got some good friends of the show here, as it were. Nikki Grimes, Ellen Hopkins, Kelly Jensen from Book Riot, Kyle Lukoff. I mean, you've contributed, of course, to your work, and it's a powerful way that you've done it. I think with it's very poetic. It's not E.E. Cummings, but it is utilizing a poetic idiom to tell a very powerful and very personal story, it seems like.
Thank you. And I feel like I noticed that you have the ARC, the advanced reader copy.
Well, yeah, because we're super cool over here at EveryLibrary. We get
you'll get the readers who are buying the finished book will get all of the special features, including the beautiful lavender. I love the purple.
Oh, I got a black and white.
I know, that's what happens, John. This is an outrage, and I'm so sorry that it happened.
No, it's all right. It's all right.
But I think this is the piece that you're talking about, and yeah, I'm happy to. But I don't really love the way it looks in the advanced reader copy. It's a little bit different in the final version, so we just have to get you your own copy of the hardcover as soon as possible.
But your piece is poetry. There's some graphic novel elements in here. There's some long form narrative. There's there's a letter or two.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad that you highlighted that feature of the collection, because when I was a high school English teacher, one of my experiences with my students was just how powerful multi-genre writing and reading was for them. So when I think about somebody picking up Band Together with an anthology that blends, brings together prose and graphic narrative and poetry and like a million lists, every list of banned books that I could come up with. When you're looking through a book like that, my hope is that whoever you are, you find something that draws you in and makes you want to connect to this experience and this issue. And that certainly, a lot of the work that I do takes me back to my trips to the school library with my own students and the kind of matchmaking work that educators and librarians do. And I wanted to bring together pieces that would make that matchmaking really easy, because there would be something for everyone. As much as any work can offer something for everyone, I hoped that the collection that we created would really draw in many different readers.
There are some very powerful first-person narratives in here, and there's some very powerful conversation starters. Did one or two of them in particular make you sit up straight, though? That really kind of we
appreciate them all, right?
Yeah, of course. No favorites, but just the one that made you kind of lift up your eyebrow.
Well, one thing I'll tell you, John, is that I am a very hands-on editor. So, for every writer who was interested in this level of involvement, I was very involved in not just seeing, you submitted your piece, here are a few adjustments we want. I really love to be active and in conversation with writers to help them frame the kind of intervention that they want to make. So I will say that one of the things that knocks my socks off is knowing just how much work and care went into these pieces. Many of these pieces were revised many times. And I love Kelly Jensen's piece. When we talk about, it connects the Miller test. For anyone who doesn't know, the Miller test is, this is how there's no obscene materials in your child's library or in your public library. It's because there is a legal test for obscenity, and works of literature or works that have, this is the SLAPS test, serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value cannot be obscene, right? Because when taken as a whole, they are contributing to our society, to our knowledge. So she does a really powerful thing of connecting that test and the emphasis on works taken as a whole to the importance of access to information about our bodies and about the different conditions, the different experiences, the different identities that we have. And so that emphasis on being taken as a whole and getting to be present in the world as our whole selves is really powerfully intersecting with the issues that come up in book banning. So I loved that. Brendan Keeley did this amazing thing of creating the story that actually, I was just at a conference for English teachers, and a teacher told me about a student, and I was like, this student is going to identify with the main character in Brendan's story because it's someone whose parent is involved in these attacks on access to literature and the young person's experience navigating all the difficulty that brings up. And so I'm excited for that person whose mom is swept up in Moms for Liberty to have a point of access, to have a way of feeling seen and understood in their challenges navigating that reality.
Well, you've been in the trenches on this for a long time, and that is a truth. It's something that I want to honor in these conversations, including the lawsuit in Escambia County, PEN America's lawsuit in Escambia County, Florida. You don't need any sort of clinical remove here. You're not a journalist trying to document something. How has your own personal experience of being a censored and banned author shaped your work with Band Together, as well as the work that you do every day at the university and in your writing life?
I feel like the skill sets become very important, and I will say that a lot of I'm so grateful for the authors who came along in this work with me. And I'm so grateful that, Authors Against Book Bans, there are authors all over the country standing up for readers and standing up for literature. And it's exhausting. What I think that the skill set that I've developed in part because I've been in it for so long is one of engagement, but also of continual renewal, restoration. I think we need a lot of practices that help us care for ourselves when we are experiencing chronic stress.
You mean like a practice, like a mindfulness or a bodyfulness or whatever?
Mindfulness, exercise, but also other things. I think that another piece. I think that something foundational to my approach as a writer is to take painful experiences and to transform them in a literary space. And so I think that one of the paralyzing things for me initially was I didn't yet know how to do that with being banned. Seems like you're silenced, you're removed, there's people are, defaming your work over and over.
They're alleging it's a criminal action.
Yeah, it's so insulting and it's so upsetting. But so I think that I had to kind of wrestle my way to my strategies, both for navigating the reality of being banned, but also navigating the sort of cascade of effects like hate mail. It's no fun. And one of the other piece I have in Band Together is getting to know your hate mail, and it's a prettier version of something that I actually did. I don't know. I have to dig up the notebook, but I actually printed out, 30 or 40 pages of different messages, emails, posts that were, awful. And I cut them out and I collaged them and wrote snarky little remarks, and it neutralizes them. When I do something like that, or another thing I did was I got a really awful letter sent to me in the mail to work, very disturbing and crude, and you just think, wow, and you're concerned about what I put in my book. But I blacked it out until it turned into a fan letter. It's a very strange fan letter, but if anybody wants to dig it up, I think it's somewhere down there in Instagram. But those for me, that's a core care practice, is finding ways to subvert those messages that are intended to silence and intimidate, to keep speaking out in different ways. And I will say, you asked about how it influences other work. In 2021, when I was in the first district that engaged in one of the, or I would say, folded to the pressure of one of these bulk attacks on literature, Leander, Texas. I remember sitting in a restaurant with a couple of other professors. These were University of Texas at Austin professors, and we were talking about what was happening. And back in 2021, even at that early stage, the strategies, the attack on CRT and all of that, we were just like, it's going to come to higher ed. And unfortunately, in Ohio, where I'm a faculty member, our state legislature is just absolutely relentlessly attacking higher ed.
Yes.
And we're navigating that reality. I draw on the skills that I developed from responding to book banning all of these years to find creative ways to respond to the censorship efforts underway in higher education. And I'm very grateful for that training. As much as I always tell people, if I had one wish, it would be that Out of Darkness could just go back to being a book on the shelf in someone's school library, where that young person who's just really ready to take the challenge picks it up, and then they go on and they read Toni Morrison, and they discover all of the other ways that literature can transform painful experiences. I would take that, but since I can't have that wish, I'm going to take those, devastating experiences of over the years of the removals, the harassment, and I'm going to transform it into advocacy. And so in our university senate, I have frames, and I have a capacity to stand up that is rooted in those experiences I'd rather not have had.
It's interesting because to me, every campaign that we work on that's anti-censorship is anti-discrimination. And there's some form of erasure attached to every censorship campaign. A lot of them are around identity and individual and group identity. Sometimes it's around erasure of professions like librarianship or education, or institutions as well. And what you're doing that I think is outside of my skill set, I got to be honest with you, is that you're taking that hate mail and turning it into a fan mail, is to not allow the erasure to take place. It's surfacing it again in a way that I think is really, it's performative, but it's preservative as well for identity. Totally.
I think that one thing that I've been considering a lot is how I think I may have used the term restorative, but how we create spaces of repair. And I think that this is why
spaces of what?
Repair.
To repair.
Being able to repair.
Together. Okay,
yeah.
So
so I think about what the reparative practices are, and how for me to write back or talk back when it comes to the outrageous claims, or specious arguments, or just slander. And again, it's shocking that that's not just limited to Moms for Liberty ranting in the school board meeting. It is our elected politicians disseminating falsehoods about civil servants, about librarians, about educators. And so I think that it's both essential for us to find our fight, but also essential for us to find our sources of repair and restoration. And I think that creative practice is one of them for me, for sure.
One thing that Band Together does, and another thing that I know to be true about your work, is that you're looking at this not only as a practitioner, but as a theoretician as well.
Yes, that's the professor in me.
No, absolutely. But if you have, how do you change the narrative right now? How do we change the narrative around book bans and censorship? How do we change the narrative back or forward around the culture of reading and the rights of readers?
Yeah, I mean, it's a struggle, right? Because we're trying to balance informing people of the very serious harms that are unfolding, and also, reminding people of how incredible and rich and valuable literature is. Something that I've found myself emphasizing more, and as a way of kind of not being swept into the debate about, well, what's the acceptable, amount of profanity or sexual content in literature, which is these are impossible questions to answer, because how does the work function as a whole? That's what you have to ask. You can't set quotas or limits. But I think that a way of staying out of those lose, or at least lose for us, debates is to say, when we talk about how kids become readers, there is a gateway experience for just about every kid who becomes a passionate reader. And that gateway is a book. So the more books you take away from readers, the fewer readers you have. So it's not a question of, well, what are they going to read? It's, are they going to read at all? And I think that sometimes I'm still optimistic. My middle name is Hope. I can't help it. But I think that sometimes parents have been hijacked. They've been, we all have fears for our kids and worries for our kids. And some of that has been hijacked by, bad actors. Yeah. If we can get parents back to, well, hang on, what happened? What power does it give my kid if they become a reader? If they are someone who can seek knowledge in this way? And I feel like I'm teaching a banned books class. It's a ton of fun, but a huge part of what we're doing is restoring students' capacity to sustain attention on books. And it's not just young people, reading, like our screens, our faster and faster cycles of engagement and then switching tasks have really impacted how available reading experiences are. So it's something to rebuild, it's something to value, and it's something precious and distinctive. Reading a book is different from watching a film or, TikTok, right? It gives back to people an aspect of their unique humanity. And so I think that telling the story of what's special about reading, what's special about literature, is one way we can change the narrative. And one thing I've been trying to ask folks to do is keep reading the banned books, read them and talk about them, but start with why that book matters to you, how it was powerful to you, or how you see it as a resource for some other person. And this is how I ask my students in the banned books class to read, is not, do you like the way, this situation is portrayed, but to ask instead, in what ways does that support a reader? Because it doesn't have to be for every reader. It needs to serve some of the readers, and the readers that a librarian is aware of passing through the doors to that media center or library.
We had a comment. I've never tried this feature before. I'm going to show it. This guy, Jeff, in the comments said, I made it a point to introduce my kids to banned books. They don't need to like them, but they need to be exposed to them. I think that lands very clearly with what you're describing. So you have a lot of allies, I think. EveryLibrary, of course, Penn, the community of other banned authors, your publisher, Authors Against Book Bans, Mellon Foundation, How's this
Thank
for a segue,
you.
Ashley? The Mellon Foundation project that you're doing, that's called Unite to Read. I don't know if it's as widely known by our network as it should be yet. Can you talk a little bit about where you want to go with this project?
Sure. Well, it's not widely known because right now it's a one woman. It's not a one woman show, but I'm getting it off the ground. So this is brand new. I mean, our funding came through in January, so we're really just getting started, and also have amazing partners like EveryLibrary, like the Brooklyn Public Library, like
Oh, are you
Columbus
working with
Metro.
Are you working with them too?
We
Oh,
have a
that's a great
huge,
project.
Unite Against Book Bans. The Highlights Foundation, tons of amazing partners, Freedom to Learn advocates.
Mhm.
So, we have an all-star cast of organizations, and what the goal of the grant is to first make those resources that you all are tirelessly creating, the practical supports for librarians, educators, readers, make them more visible, and also secondly, really mobilize people where they are or in the spaces that they feel like they can have an impact, to get creative and to initiate action. And so, we're gonna create. There'll be a lot of virtual programming, creating spaces for authors to talk about their work, not
Mhm.
just their experiences being banned,
I like that.
their creative
Yeah.
expertise. And then, also informational work on helping people see, understand what's happening and see areas for action. There'll be one-off events that have that kind of focus, like here's how you gather materials for a book resume that can go on the Unite Against Book Bans site. We're looking to help the Unite Against Book Bans book resume project. This is the one that basically puts a synopsis, the highlights of the reviews, the awards a book has won, all in one place, so that librarians, educators, parents can push back against the story that this is trash or porn, and say, well, this is award-winning literature.
Right.
It's one step in the process of defending books. So we want to help Unite Against Book Bans find ways to sustain the process of creating these materials. There's a lot to create. That's an action step. But what I'm most excited about, and I can imagine the people who will see this video being some of the folks I want to reach, all of that will be building up to multi-week institute where we provide stipends for participants and we provide funding for projects that they design. And it's the kind of opportunity where folks can think of a practical intervention in their community that they want to jumpstart, and they don't have to come up with the resources themselves. We'll provide that, but they can also partner with others to do something bigger. And so we're hoping this will be kind of like seed money that will help a whole range of communities find greater support and access.
That's fantastic. I think that the solidarity components of it are very important. If we're standing
Totally.
alone, it's terribly dark. But the practical side of this, where the projects are intended to build, and then they're intended to be additive as well. So I did put this up on the screen for people being interested. We also put it in the comment section in the Facebook and on the YouTube here.
Yes.
As well. So I hope people hit the link.
Yes. I just shared it a couple of, I guess a week and a half ago, and was so excited by the stories. People were already beginning to share their areas of interest. So I feel like these kinds of opportunities to hear what will support folks is really powerful to me. And what you said about solidarity, I think that's, that's part of why the project is called the Unite to Read Project. We want to put the practice of reading, the uniqueness of literature at the center, but we also really want people to have an experience of support and solidarity. And I think one of the things that I'm most excited about is creating a community, and the experience for folks of designing, and implementing their projects with support. so that they're not, when you encounter an obstacle, you're not alone trying to untangle that problem. You've got support from other participants, you've got support from the grant team, and you've got support from our partners.
Absolutely. And we're eager to meet people where they're at in terms of crisis response. I just going to put up a commercial for Fight for the First while we're at it. Fight for the First is EveryLibrary's platform. We do digital advocacy and a lot of real world supports, a lot of coaching, hand-holding, training, guidance. And we can help. We can help turn things around. We ran some numbers the other day, Ashley, about how many book ban campaigns that we're aware of around the country from the PEN data, some of the ALA data as well. And it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 55% of the campaigns that or book ban efforts around the country we've been involved in through Fight for the First in the last 2 years. Incredible. And I like showing up. It gets me up in the morning. It keeps me moving. I mean, my self-care regime is terrible right now, but that's why we do it. That's why
you got to do some jumping jacks, John.
I guess, yeah.
I mean, I feel like I need a Sharpie to underline that. Just the standing alongside folks.
Yeah.
This is so critical. And I think as we're across the country, really establishing, tapping into, working towards modes of resistance and response to really concerning attacks, not just on books, but on people. We are, I hope, all of us looking to see how can I be a part, not just of how do I have my own stand, but how am I supporting other people and being able to define what they stand for and who they stand for and hold that stand. And I feel like EveryLibrary has just been exemplary in showing up to that work over and over. And I know that it makes the difference between the librarian or the community member just folding in the face of pressure, not knowing, I'm just one person. Well, when we stand with people, they don't have that. They have the sense of more capacity and someone to hold that. I think this is with the different folks that I work with on these issues, the sense of there are some days that you need to set it down and you need somebody else to reassure you that they'll carry it for a little while, or that they'll keep it safe for you and you can come back for that work, but that you're not doing it all on your own. Yeah,
that's very true. I've never been in your seat. I've never received that letter as a creator, as an author. I've never gotten that letter. And the least I can do is show up for people like yourself, in that kind of context. So,
especially our librarians.
I know.
None of them, they didn't sign. And then that's the thing. I mean, and it's similar to professors. I'm like, we're a nerdy bunch. A lot of us are introverts. We like research. We like libraries. Librarians, they didn't sign up to be in the spotlight. And so we need to be supporting them because extremist groups have put them not just in the spotlight, but in the crosshairs. And it's not right. Let's stand up with them.
I agree with you. All right. Traditional last question. We got to take this thing home. Not traditional last question. This is an unusual one. I'm thinking about the fact that it's March 3rd tomorrow. The new book, Band Together, comes out. Okay. Yep. Holiday House team. Also, though, there's a joint session of Congress tomorrow night. President Trump will be talking to a joint session of Congress. He's going to deliver some messages about his view of America. Ashley, I want you to give the anti-censorship rebuttal tonight. If you can give one message to lawmakers and even school boards who are considering book bans, what would it be?
Listen to students. Listen to students. And focus not on what you think students need, not on what you think about education, but on what students tell you. Because this is their life. This is their education. This is their future. And I've been shocked by how willing our leaders have been to completely disregard the voices of those most impacted by their actions. So, I've been telling folks, whether it's the school board meeting, whether it's the, we here in Ohio turned out over 1,000 testimonies against SB1, which is our higher education censorship bill. And do you know how many students from public universities? I think only one student testified at all as a proponent of that, but they were from a private university. Zero students testified in support of that bill, and hundreds testified against it. So lawmakers should be listening to that.
You have my vote tonight. That's fantastic. Thank you for that. That's a wonderful thing. I mean, you can't listen to your victim. Your heart has to be very hard, you know? Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
Oh, Ashley, I'm so glad that we had this opportunity to hang out a little bit tonight and talk about these initiatives.
I'm honored. It looks like Honeybun came for her cameo.
Oh, I didn't put Honeybun in the intro. I should have. So
no, she just showed up. So thank you so much, John.
Real quick, I'm going to go through all the .coms here. Okay, folks want to follow your writing, your thinking, your research. Folks want a copy of the book. They can start at Holiday House, wonderful publishing house. To get it. And again, it's out in bookstores everywhere, independents especially.
Yeah, support your independent bookstore, please.
Yes. Your Unite to Read Project Interest Forum as things are coming online. And again, folks, EveryLibrary, it's our.com, our.org, everylibrary.org. If you need a hand, whether it's book bans or if it's funding for libraries and schools, or if you're doing block and tackle in some of those state legislatures, or God help us, you want to send a message to Congress alongside Ashley Hope Pérez, hit us up there, team, okay? Ashley, this was great. I'm going to keep you in the green room after we're done. I'm going to put up the title card. I'm going to wave at all of our listeners and watchers. Good night, everybody.
Good night, y'all.